Hello everyone, welcome back to another StudyingWorks video. Today we are going to be learning how to balance chemical equations. Balancing chemical equations is often an overlooked topic that many people don't see the importance in, but it has many applications to the world of chemistry. As we know from prior knowledge in chemistry, matter cannot be gained or lost in a reaction, meaning that there must be the same amount of each element on both sides of the equation. That means we have to have balance between the two. You can't have 4 grams of something and then it suddenly becomes 6 grams. There has to be something else in there that's allowing it to get to that 6 grams. The first thing you want to do when you're balancing equations is always write an unbalanced equation first. Now, what do we do from here? So we can obviously see that there is an unbalanced amount of reactant and product on each side. So we are now going to use what is called a RIP chart to balance the reactants and products on both sides. So we want the reactants to equal the products. So first we have 1 aluminum. So you want to first write out all the reactants and products. We have 1 hydrogen in our HCl. And we have 1 chlorine. So now we know our aluminum is balanced, so we don't have to balance that. Now let's balance our hydrogen. So let us multiply this by 2, and now we have 2 hydrogen as we hoped, and now these two are equal. But as you can see, we're multiplying HCl by 2, so we also get 2 chlorine. Now, how can we balance 2 chlorine and 3 chlorine? So we have to think about the least common multiple, which in this case would be 6. So on this side, we would multiply by 2, and on this side we would multiply by 3. I know it looks messy, but we'll fix it all at the end. So now we have 6 chlorine here, and don't forget to also keep track of the other coefficients. So aluminum is also changing to become 2 aluminum. And now on this side we have now 6 hydrogen, because remember we're also multiplying the hydrogen, and we have 6 chlorine. But now we have to balance our hydrogen again. How can we do that? We have hydrogen gas, we just multiply by 3 and we'll get 6 hydrogen here. So now we have a 3 here. Now, finally we have to balance our aluminum, so we multiply that by 2. And now for a final check, we can check everything. So we have 2 aluminum, 6 hydrogen, 6 hydrogen, 6 chloride, 6 chloride. So now our equation is balanced. Now time to learn how we can balance equations more efficiently when necessary. So now, first, let's write the balanced equation. We have sulfuric acid, so that would be H2SO4. And if it's an acid, it is typically in an aqueous state of matter. And we are adding that to aluminum chloride. And if we have a precipitation reaction, which we can tell from the word precipitate, it is likely that both of the reactants are aqueous. Aluminum chloride, AlCl3, is most likely also aqueous. And now, on the other side, we have the precipitate aluminum sulfate, so that's a solid, like we learned before. So aluminum sulfate. And we also have hydrochloric acid, and as we know, acids are in an aqueous state of matter. And now let's balance it using the RIP chart. Now, we want reactants to equal product, but there are a lot of elements to balance out in this equation. So what we can do is, since we see that there's sulfate on both sides of the reaction, we can use the polyatomic ion sulfate to balance the equation. Instead of using sulfur and oxygen separately. So we have 2 hydrogen, we have 1 sulfate, we have 1 aluminum, we have 3 chlorine, and on the product side we have 1 hydrogen, and we have 3 sulfate, and we have 2 aluminum, and we have 1 chlorine. So now let's balance it. So first we can multiply this by 2 to balance the hydrogen, and chlorine also. Now to balance the sulfate, we can multiply this by 3. Just imagine there's a sulfate here, but I'm not going to write the entire thing out. So we have a coefficient of 3 here, and hydrogen is also changing, so that becomes 6 hydrogen. And now we need to balance the hydrogen again, so let's multiply this by 3 to get 6. So now change this coefficient to 6. And now we have to balance, and also the chlorine would become 6. Now we have to balance the aluminum, which we do so by multiplying by 2. And you can see that our equation has balanced itself out. So our final answer would be 3 sulfuric acid plus, and obviously it's an aqueous state, plus 2 aluminum chloride, also an aqueous state, becomes the precipitate. Oh, and don't forget to write the state of matter. The precipitate aluminum sulfate plus hydrochloric acid, and that is aqueous. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.